Hello. So for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Max and I am a day one player who makes content for this game on how to clear the somewhat challenging stages. Because we are currently in our half anniversary celebration, I thought that this was the perfect time to make a comprehensive beginner's guide. I hope it's helpful. In the beginning, everything's a bit overwhelming, of course, so you'll have no idea what's going on, you'll feel lost, but trust me, you'll pick it up very quickly, especially if you're okay with reading a little bit. That's very core for this game. If you don't read, you won't learn too quickly. But yeah, I hope I can make this a bit easier for you guys, and I hope I have all the information that most of you will need to get your footing and hit the ground running. So this is a freshly rerolled account, and yeah, when it comes to rerolling, if you don't care about meta, you're just a collector, it's fine to play that way. You don't have to reroll, you can just plug and play, pull on whoever you want, and it won't be a big deal. But if you do care about meta, and you do want to clear the hardest content, you most likely will have to reroll in order to have a strong start. So I'm going to go over the gacha system first. Very briefly, there's a lot going on. Basically, there are paid cubes that you spend real money for, and then there are free cubes. There are specific things that you can only do with paid cubes, but for the most part, you can do most things with free cubes as well. How the gacha works. There are certain characters that are in the standard pool, so these are always available, and then there is a banner unit that's rated up. There are also units that have come out that are not in the standard pool. For example, for this special half anniversary gacha here, all these characters you see here are not in the standard pool. But if you have paid cubes, you're able to have a chance at getting one of them by using this here, right? In the beginning, ignore it all. The very first thing that you're going to do is actually go to your friend invite over here and then put in a code. It'll give you 1,000 cubes. You can use my code, but if my code has been used 20 times, which is the max, then it won't work anymore. So you can go to the Discord, use anyone else's friend code that you see. They have to be on your server though, as far as I'm aware. And then you go to profile here, and then you set anything here. You can do whatever you want, just set anything random, and that'll complete a mission that will give you over here. Sorry, the BlueStacks client is very, very laggy. There should be a PC client coming to the global version soon, so I hope that happens sooner rather than later. There's a mission here on the right, set assisting characters, another 1,000 cubes. So that should be the first two things you do to get an extra 2,000 cubes after you claim the gift cubes. Then you go to Gacha, and you should be rerolling when DE Gojo's out. So I'm going to assume this is DE Gojo's banner, and you're going to send all the cubes you have into this banner. I already used a bunch on this account. I had like 13,000, I believe. I do that. Oh, so I already had Zone Yuji, but I got another copy, which is great, which is very lucky. On my main account, I've done a lot and I don't have a single copy of him, which is always how it goes, I suppose. So this is my account right now. I have Zone Yuji, and then I have a bunch of these other characters. The next thing you want to do is you want to go here, this banner over here. You get 10 free multis because of half anniversary. So after you pick up DE Gojo, that should be the first priority. If you fail to get DE Gojo within these first cubes, I would just re-roll completely, right? I wouldn't even do these 10 multis, although you can if you want, just for fun. You need DE Gojo. As far as units go, DE Gojo is the only quote-unquote must pull that we've had in this game. Of course, you can clear content without him. It is definitely possible. In terms of the future content out in JP right now, I don't even know if it's possible or not. But for the global content, it definitely is possible. But he'll make your life a lot easier, and he's very future-proof. His kit is absolutely broken, and although I can't really explain to you why if you're a new player, you will see as you play how strong he is. So just trust me, you have to reroll until you get DE Gojo. So get him in the initial pulls, and then do these 10 multis here. In terms of priorities, you want one of these units up here. At least one, or at least some of these units up here, right? Basically in this game, you want at least 1 or 2 solid DPSs of each color, and then of course supports are very important as well. But we'll go over that later when we talk about the battle system. So right now for this account, I've done my 10 multis, I've done my Zone UG pulls. I did get Zone UG, and I did get Hollow Purple Gojo. So in this case, assuming that that Zone UG that I just pulled was the Gojo, I would not reroll here, right? I would just stay. And then when you are staying, what you want to do next is you want to go here and roll your redrawable. So from this ticket, there's going to be some debate. People are going to tell you different things. But in my opinion, there's only the 9 base standard SSRs that came out in the very beginning of this game that are available here. And of those 9, it's this blue Gojo, this green Yuji, Nobara, blue Megumi, green Nanami, Maki, Panda, and hold on, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this Toge and this Todo, as far as I'm aware. Yes. Okay. Of those 9, the best one to pick is blue Gojo. There is a Sukuna unit coming out who is also a blue DPS. And this Jogo here does get buffed in the future. That makes him very, very strong. But still, as of right now, for your account strength, the one you should definitely pick up is blue Gojo here. Right? So how this works is you draw, and then you keep redrawing until you get the one that you want. If you don't want to pick him, that's okay too. I'm just letting you know that that is my recommendation. Now I'm going to walk you guys through the reroll process, because that is pretty complicated as well. So how to log out of an account. First thing you want to do is go to customer support, contact customer service, and click log out. It's very convoluted, right? And the good thing about rerolling in this game, even though it does take a little bit, you can salt your emails. What that means is I can put a period wherever I want within my email address. So my email address was yjmaxburn1@gmail.com. If I put a period here, or a period here, or a period here, this still counts as the same email, but it counts as a separate account for the purposes of this game. So you can reroll a lot using just one email account. You don't have to make multiple email addresses. And I'll prove that right now. You see how it worked? It sent a confirmation link to that email. I just verified. And then it logged me in. Now this is a completely separate account. And the server you pick here does kind of matter. Recently, they've implemented co-op into the global version, and even next week we're getting another co-op event. Hopefully in the future we get guild raids and stuff like that. So yeah, this will definitely be something that you have to think about. So where do you want to play? Where are most of your friends located? Or who do you want to play with in the future? If you're wherever you're based in, that's the one to pick. And again, because you can use the same email address for multiple accounts, you're safe to just pick whichever server that you live in. And you don't really have to make other characters on these accounts unless you want to. So I'm going to click North America and I'm going to start. Of course, there's a whole process, the whole tutorial. I'm not going to bore you guys with any of that. So I'll see you guys as soon as that's over. Okay, so we finished the tutorial. We finished pulling on this account. One thing I forgot to mention in the gacha system, there is a standard banner down here that is always available. So this contains all of the units that are in the standard pool. But you should never use cubes on this banner, especially if you're not a spender. Even if you're a spender, I don't think you should be spending any cubes on this banner. Periodically, we get standard banner tickets like this that I can just use, and that will allow you to pull on this banner without spending cubes. For all new players, I recommend that whenever you get these tickets or enough tickets for a multi, just use it. At least for the first 2 months or so, just use every single standard banner ticket you get. A lot of people will try and tell you, oh no, just wait for future standard banner updates. Wait for when future units get added to the standard pool. But in the beginning, if you do that, you can't play the game because you just don't have anything. You don't have recollections, you don't have characters. You're just missing too many things to play and have any kind of fun. So for the first 2 months at least, I recommend just use every single standard banner ticket you get, and then you could save for the future once your account is in a stable, end game state. So just to be in line with that, I'm going to spend these 10 right now. Didn't get anything, but that's fine. Okay, next thing I want to talk about. Oh, it's saving. If you're free to play, or even if you're a very light spender, you're gonna have to save in this game for the big anniversary units. So pretty much you'll be saving for like 3 to 6 months at a time. It's just how it is, if you care about pulling for the really broken characters. Of course, here and there, you can do a few multis, test your luck on the units that you really like, but the sad reality of this game is the pity is at 250. You don't get enough cubes to justify pulling on random units when there's a chance that you just get shafted really hard. There is a pity transfer system, which I can explain very briefly. So as you can see here, I did 40 pulls on Zone Yuji, so I have 40 points. I'm able to exchange this for half value, so I can change this into 20 points like this. And then this 20 points I can then use and apply up to 100 of it on any other banner that comes out. Let's say I want SSR Kaito, which I don't, but let's say I want him, and again, pity is at 250, right? Let's say I'm at 150, and I really want Kaito. Then what I can do here is I can recharge. I can put 100 of those transferable pity points into his banner, which would change my 150 into 250, allowing me to pick him up for free, or not for free, to exchange him in this shop right here. So that's what the pity transfer system is. We got it pretty recently, and it helps a lot in terms of making sure that we can pull on more than one unit every 6 months. But still, it's still painful, and if you're free to play or a light spender, you should not be pulling on random banners. Make sure you're saving for the big celebrations. Next thing I want to talk about is AP, which is basically the stamina system for this game. Add some water. So first of all, for this half anniversary, all the main story quests cost 0 AP. So this is the perfect time to just focus on this and clear out as much of the main story as possible, right? Because it doesn't cost anything. Once the half anniversary ends, it will go back to costing like 5 to 10 AP per stage, depending on what stage you do. And of course, you do get cubes if you clear certain chapters and stuff like that. In terms of recovery, we periodically get these AP packs that we can recover our AP with. Each one gives around 100, so it's very nice. You shouldn't be using these willy-nilly. You can save them for events that you either miss a few days on, or events where you want to clear out things quickly, or on 2 times enhancement quest weekends. That is something I will talk about later. In terms of refreshing with cubes, never ever do it. Even if you're a whale, you shouldn't be doing this unless you're just so rich that it doesn't matter to you, then you can do whatever you want. But yeah, you should not be using cubes to refresh AP, just like in any other gacha game ever. Right now though, during the half anniversary, there is a 3-time AP recovery free campaign, which means that I could do this for free, and I can recover 2 more times for free every single day. So every day you're getting an extra 300 AP to spend on whatever you want, which is great. So now we're going to talk about what are all the things that we can spend AP on. Of course, in the beginning, you can't spend it on anything, right? Because we have to clear up to, let's see, for this one, for the events, you have to clear up to chapter 2, up to chapter 2, chapter 2. So you finish all of chapter 2, that's your first priority, and then you can go clear these events. I'm going to log back onto my main account and show you guys what that looks like. So there are 3 main types of events. There are story events, map events, and versus events. Versus events use their own type of entry currency, which is hard to explain without a visual, so you'll see when it comes out. For a story event, you go into event quest, and you spend your AP here. These hard stages are just stages with limited amount of entry times. And then normal stages, you can go in as many times as you want. You spend your AP on these stages, and then you get this as a drop. These are called residuals of cursed energy. And then with those drops, you go to this here, Formidable Battle, and you fight these bosses of varying difficulties. Higher difficulties will give you more token drops. And tokens, which are these ticket looking things over here, are what you use to roll the lottery. So here, as you can see, there are a bunch of rewards, right? There are cubes, tickets, EXP materials, recollections as rewards, stuff like that. You can reset pools early if you want. If you're, let's say that you missed a few days and you really want this crystal on day 12, but you're only on day 9, there's only one day of the event left, you know, and you got most of the stuff that you wanted, just reset if it's just like these things that are left, and then push through. But if you're playing the events diligently, if you're starting on day 1, you never need to click this button. Just let the pool reset on its own. You'll have plenty of time to get everything that you need. You can change the settings here, exchange more at a time, bulk exchange, all that kind of stuff. And it gives you really good rewards. So story events are something that you want to dedicate the vast majority of your AP to when they're live. Because as you can see here in the prize section, once you get to number 16, this prize pool resets infinitely. So you can clear this as many times as you want. And it's giving you skill crystals, JP, character EXP, recollection EXP, skill crystals, and cursed objects. So it's kind of raising your resources overall as a whole. So in a lot of situations, if you don't have anything specific that you need to farm, this is a good thing to just spend your AP on when it comes to story events. Map events are a bit different, but again, I don't have a visual, so I can't really show you. But basically for map events, you are not going to be farming it indefinitely. You're just going to clear out the shop, which looks a bit different, and then you're going to stop. For this half anniversary event specifically, there's also an event marathon. This is basically just additional rewards. There's nothing special here, nothing extra you need to do. You just get more rewards for doing this. And one important point is that there are event bonuses. Certain characters, especially the ones like in Raid Up right now, get extra bonuses. So Yuji, the Gojo here, all yellow characters, all red characters. The free recollection they're giving out. This is Zone Yuji's event recollection that's free. This is his banner recollection that you can pull on. This is the Gojo's event recollection that we get for free, and this is his banner recollection that we have to pull on. All of these give extra drops. So what does that mean? That means that although every day of the event you can spend gathering up these residuals of cursed energy, you don't want to spend it until you're finished pulling on the units, if you are pulling on them. So in most cases, for most free-to-play players, you won't be pulling on the banner units. So you could just clear the event without waiting and it's fine. But for right now, the event started before DE Gojo came out, right? DE Gojo still hasn't come out at the time of this recording currently. So because I don't have him, as you can see, I haven't spent any of my residuals. I'm still on this first stage here. So I'm waiting until he comes out so I can get an extra 20% from him, and then an extra 15% from maxing this one out, because it's free. And then hopefully I get his banner recollection as well, and I can get even more drops. The idea is if you're pulling on the banner rated up unit who is boosted in the current event, you want to only farm the event bosses after you've finished doing your pulls, right? That way you can maximize your resource gain, and that does add up. It's not really like a small min-max, it adds up a lot because these event recollections and event characters give a lot of bonus drops. Next thing I want to talk about, enhancement quests. So during the weekday, most people don't really farm these unless you desperately need it. But since Global's release, we've been getting 2 times drop on the weekends, right? And what your weekend is depends on where you're located. For me in the United States, it's Friday and Saturday. But for some people, it's Thursday and Friday. It really depends because it's all based on Japanese Standard Time. So you have to convert that for yourself, and then you'll see when it is. But whenever it is, this is what most people spend their AP on those days. There is Orange EXP, which is your character EXP, the Recollection EXP, and then JP. JP is used in small amounts for a bunch of like little things that you level up, but most of it is consumed when you're raising skills. So skills will cost a ton of JP to raise up. For the most part, this quest is not worth doing, and neither is this one. You want to get these passively, just through doing events and then playing the game actively. Most of the time, what you're going to be spending your AP on is this one. It gives you a lot. It's the best in terms of value, so yeah. And then let's say that you don't need any more EXP, like me. As you can see, I have 10 million of this, I have a good amount of this, and I farmed a bunch of this the previous weekend while using AP refills with the packs, so I have a lot of this as well. The third thing that you can spend your AP on are cursed objects. So I would recommend doing this on the weekdays for the most part. As long as you've cleared out the event and you've spent a good amount of AP on that day on the event, the rest of it I would definitely spend here. You can target specific ones that you want to get more of. And now let's talk about what these are exactly. Cursed objects are used to raise the grade of your characters. This was mentioned in the tutorial, but I'm going to go over it again very briefly. These little nodes give you little stat buffs, right? And as these pile up, that's what gives your character their strength. Certain ones raise their max level, as you can see, HP, some are focused on C-Tech, which is cursed tech or physical tech. There are two main types of damage, physical and cursed. Certain units are hybrid, certain units only use one. Okay, and then every unit only has two specific cursed objects that they focus on or that they require, right? So this Teen Gojo here, he uses patterned decor and precious jewelry. Other units will use other ones. As you can see, this is why it's important to raise your resources overall. There are 6 types: distorted tableware, flat container, gilded adornment, precious jewelry, bell ornament, and patterned decor. There's bronze, silver 1s, silver 2s, silver 3s, gold 1s, 2s and 3s, green 1s, 2s and 3s, and then purple 1s, 2s and 3s. The story events are so nice because they give you all of these at the same time. In different amounts, of course, and in much lower amounts than just target farming cursed objects, but still, it helps you raise your stock overall to raise a wider variety of units. But let's say that you want to raise a specific one, like you really want your Yuta to be max level. What does he need? He needs, if I click this, he needs these purples and these bells. So then you can click on it, click obtain from, and then target farm those specific ones that you need, right? If I want more of the 2-star bells, then I look for the one where it offers me 2-star bells at the highest rate, which is none of these. It would be this one, right? A level 2 purple, 3+ per run. So I would farm this one until I have enough to level them up. That's one way to use. That's the last way, I guess, to use your AP in this game. And then in terms of the 3 resources, I'm sure you guys know what they do, but just to briefly cover. Orange EXP levels are characters. Rackbit EXP levels are recollections. And then again, JP is used in every little transaction, but it's mostly used over here. The higher level your skills are, the more they cost to level, as you can see. 7 to 8 is 120k, 9 to 10 is 300k. So you have to manage your resources well because you don't really get to raise too many characters too quickly at once. Okay, and then next we're gonna go over teams, how to create teams and how to battle in this game. Okay, so this is a tower floor. I'll kind of talk about what that is later, but essentially it's one of the endgame modes where you're fighting bosses and you have to have very well-crafted teams to clear the content. As soon as you see the content, it tells you some stuff about it. This blue down is what element or what color does this boss resist. So any damage that is red, damage that is blue, damage that is yellow will not be as effective against this boss. Here's the rewards, and if you click on the boss, a lot of times it'll tell you what it does here. Most bosses are a lot more complicated than this one. This one's a very easy one just for video purposes, but it tells you basic things about what this boss can do to you, right? Then you click to battle. Also, if you didn't know, up here, you can click clear formation and you can see other ways in which other people cleared it, right? And if that gives you any ideas for team comps to try, that's always good. Just keep in mind though that there are a lot of people who hack or mod this game to clear it like with characters that normally can't, so be aware of that. If you see something ridiculous, it's probably just someone cheating. So I'm going to go through the team building process right now. I'm going to clear this out. I can't tell you what each character does, you know, what each character's role is, what their skills are, because that would be way too much. I'd have to talk for like 10 hours. The very important piece of information that I need to tell you guys is, unfortunately, you need to read in this game. You absolutely have to read. Every character that you want to use, you have to read. You know, you got to see what they do, see what characters work with each other, stuff like that. And yes, you will understand and learn it over time, but the more you're okay with reading, the faster you'll get it and the faster you'll be able to actually enjoy the game the way it's meant to be played. I will put tier lists of characters, not really these reroll tier lists, but specific ones towards the recollections and the characters. And what you can do is, as a starting point, you can look at the characters that you have that are at the top end of that tier list, and then just go to the Wikipedia that I will also link in the comments and read what they do, right? Most teams follow a 3 support, 1 DPS, or 2 support, 1 sub DPS, 1 DPS setup. I will have tier lists that have certain characters in certain categories that you can see. So one of the best supports in the game is Yaga. So I'm going to put him in here. Another very good support that a lot of early players will have access to is something like Kaito or Toge. So I'm going to put him in here. Or Nanami, honestly. So I'll just use him for this example. And then let's say we were following a 3 support team. Then it would look something like this. We would bring Gakuganji, who is not available in the standard pool, but he is also one of the best supports in the entire game. As you can see, some of the best supports in this game are SR and R units, and you'll see that very often. So don't disregard them, they are very, very good. And read what they do. As a very basic summary, both of these characters buff. This character puts extra damage taken debuffs on the enemy, which enhances our damage for quite a bit. In this 4th slot, we can put a DPS. Again, this stage is weak to green, right? Because we want to use a green DPS. I'm going to use Yuji here. One important point I need to point out now, because it's very weird and people don't really understand it. This recommended CP, you can ignore this completely. It doesn't really mean anything. Most of the times, as you can see, my team, I mean, I haven't finished crafting it yet. It's not going to be above 100k, right? Back up, we can put another support, like Momo here. Now recollections. Again, I can't go over what all of these recollections do. You're going to have to read them, look at my tier list, look at the ones that you have, look at the Wikipedia, browse the ones in the S tier, see what they do. They do very different things. That's a good supportive one. This is also a good supportive one. I'm just going to bring this one here. This is also a really good supportive one. These 3 are the core. They're the best 3 recollections in the game. So yeah, look out for these, definitely. And then Yuji is a physical tech DPS. So I'm going to be using a recollection that enhances his physical damage. Like this one. And then she's a support. I'll just bring something like this. For beginners, you'll probably be using this one to boost your team's damage quite a bit. You can click this button here to see some stats, their skill levels. You can see what the recollections do. You can see how much their stats are boosted by their recollections. You can look at initial curse energy, stuff like that. So there are 2 types of damage in this game. I've mentioned this before. Physical and then cursed damage. Some characters do only physical, some do only cursed, some do a mix of both. Green Yuji is an example of a main DPS that does only physical damage. So again, I'm not going to go over what all these skills do because you have to read them, but Yaga is a buffer. Usually, the skills are colored differently based on what they do. Damaging skills or damaging debuffing skills are usually red. Buffing skills are usually, orange. And then skills that debuff the enemy are usually blue. And then there are also some green skills out there that have very specific usages as well. So here, as an example, I'm going to buff on both of these characters because that is their role. I'm going to activate this recollection because what it does is it makes our ults charge faster for the first 2 turns when we activate it. And I'm going to debuff the boss as well. And then on Yuji here, I'm going to be buffing him a little as well. A very important thing to understand about this game's battle system is that buffs and debuffs stack. Everything stacks. So for example, let's read Yaga's skill 2. applies 45.81% physical technique increase to all allies for 4 turns and 45.81% curse technique increase to all allies for 4 turns. What this means is I am buffing the base stat of my entire team's physical and curse tech stat by this amount. So you'll see here, I'll show you guys what I mean right now. So after I did 2 turns of this, you can hold on to your character and you can see what buffs and debuffs they have. I have that 45.81% on my Yaga with 3 turns left, and I have another one with 2 turns left. This is the first one that I used. So because his buff is a 4-turn buff, I can stack it 4 times. If I use it this turn and then I use it next turn, I'll have maximum buffs on my team. So you kind of have to do the math in terms of how many buffs are you getting from who, and you can also use this to compare which buffs are stronger than others. As a general rule of thumb, without getting too deep into the damage formula, a mix of different types of buffs and debuffs are ideal for maximum damage in this game. For example, my Yaga is buffing the base stat of physical tech and curse tech, right? My Nanami is buffing damage dealt, which is a separate buff to all of my teammates. My Gakuganji, the last 2 turns, he put a debuff that applied 36.2% physical technique damage taken increase and 36.2% curse technique damage taken increase for 4 turns. So a mix of these buffs and debuffs is the best way to maximize your damage. And as you read more as you play the game, you'll get a better feel of what that looks like. So here we're just going to use this. You can also hover the boss and you'll see what the boss has as well, right? In terms of the debuffs. So here, as you can see, he has the 2 stacks, 1 turn left, 2 turn left, of Gakuganji's 4 turn debuffs. And he also has this one that I just placed on him with my skill 1 from him. So on turn 4, because of the way I've been playing so far, I have maximum buffs, because I have 4 stacks of his buff, 4 stacks of his buff, that also lasts 4 turns. And then I have 3 stacks of his, because I didn't use this last turn. Now, because this is my maximum buff state, I can use my recollection here. That gives me another 85% physical technique increase to my stat. And then I can use my ult, because my ult is my biggest hitting ability, right? So this is kind of what you would call a burst turn or a nuke turn within the context of this context of this game. Sorry. So as you can see, some basics. I broke the boss. That yellow bar under it is its break bar. When the enemy is broken, it can't do anything for the next 2 turns. Some bosses have a special mechanic where it stays broken for 4 turns and stuff like that, but that'll be noted in the description, so you can always tell. But for most fights, break means you have 2 turns to do whatever you want. These pink balls under the boss's HP bar here, this is its ult gauge. So this is how many ult orbs it has. Once it reaches this one, it means that on that turn, it's going to ult your team. Of course, what the boss's ult does depends on what the boss is. This is a very easy fight, which is why I'm showcasing this team here. But yeah, the goal is just to kill the boss, right? So we're just going to, we don't have any cursed energy left, which is basically our quote-unquote mana for this game. We're just going to hit him, and then finish it off with a skill 3 from Yuji, which also does a good amount of damage. So yeah, that was a very basic combat guide. Again, I can't go over what every recollection, every character does. Look at the tier list, read the wiki, and you'll get a good feel of it. And just play around with it yourself. You know, if you're playing the game, just get into it a little bit. It's a lot of fun once you understand the core mechanics. Okay, next I'm going to talk about awakenings for both characters and recollections. And recollections in a bit more detail, and also about stamps and shards. So first of all, for character dupes, you see this awakening over here. You get stat boosts. For the first dupe, you always get a stat boost, and then second dupe, usually for any characters that use mana, you get a 10 initial mana boost, and then more stat boosts here. Also, for your co-op ult effects, if you played the tutorial, you've probably seen a co-op ultimate where you ult with 2 characters together. When you do that, each character brings a unique buff to the table. And having more dupes of that character enhances that buff a little bit, right? As you can see here. When it comes to dupes for recollections, the first one gives you a new skill. What that skill is depends, of course, entirely, but it gives you a new skill that you unlock and also raises the level cap to 60 from 55. Next one raises to 65, and then on the 3rd level, you always get an enhanced version of the initial skill that you had. So as you can see here, it goes from a 30% ult gauge fill rate increase for 2 turns to a 35%. And these increases are usually pretty significant. It kind of depends on the recollection, but for all of the good ones, they are very significant. And then of course, more dupes raises the level cap. Raising the level cap gives you higher base stats here. As you can see, if I raise this one from 70 to 80, I'll get an extra 2% HP and an extra 6% physical tech. The reason I'm not doing this is because it's very expensive and because this is a supportive recollection that you don't put this on a damage dealer, so this extra stat isn't going to matter that much. Okay, now stamps and shards. So how you awaken characters is by shards, right? Specific ones, so if you pull a dupe, you can put it into him, right? There are also these universal shards that I'll have to pick a different character that I don't have max duped. So Megumi here. These are resonant soul shards that are universal. You can use this on any character that you want. These are given to us in very limited supply, especially if you don't buy them by spending real money. So be very careful on what you use these on. These should only be used on main DPS characters. So Domain Megumi here is a support, so I wouldn't want to use it on him, right? I would definitely be preferring to use this on units like Teen Gojo or Yuta. And that's what I did. That's exactly what I did for both of these two, right? Because you want your main DPS units to be at least Awakening 1. And why is that? It's because when you look at the Awakening here, with the first dupe, they get a huge stat bonus. 25% HP, 25% P-Tech, 25% C-Tech. As you can see, it goes down later on. Because this is a Gojo unit and he doesn't have CE, or CE limits, he gets an extra 10% bonus and then a lot more overall. But if we look at a standard unit that does have CE, like Yuta, 25% and then 10 curse energy and then an increase of 5% at each level after that. So for all free-to-play or light spenders, A1 is your target for all of your main DPS units. This is where you want to be at. This is your sweet spot. With A1 units, you can pretty much clear every content that comes out. With A0, it's pretty hard. So the way that you want to reserve these shards for those OP main DPS units that you're pulling for that you need to spend a shard on, because pulling for dupes is very unrealistic if you're not a huge spender. And then there are these things called Phantom Seal stamps. It's grayed out here because I already used one on my Yuta, but this is basically a stamp that you can give a character to make their max level cap increase by 10. And there are 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is use it on your favorite character because it makes their profile a little bit more shiny and they get to be higher level. And the other one is use it for meta, just use it on only main DPS units to make them stronger. My thought is just kind of a mix of both. I only use it on main DPS characters that I really like a lot, right? But they are very limited in supply, so I wouldn't just use them willy-nilly. You can use them on supports if you want to. For example, some people will stamp him, and some people will stamp DE Gojo, who comes out later today, because, he's OP. But he's a support. He's not a main DPS character, so that extra offensive stat he gets from giving him extra 10 levels isn't really relevant. It doesn't matter because he's not going to be doing damage anyways, unless the enemy is weak to red. But you're going to be bringing him to all kinds of content, not just red content. So it is kind of a waste to use one on DE Gojo, but if he's your favorite character, why not? It's not like it's the end of the world. And these 10 levels, although they do increase your stats by a decent amount, they're not game breaking. You're not going to be locked out of content just because you didn't use a stamp on a specific character, right? So yeah, it's kind of just up to you, but I personally would recommend only using it on your favorite units that also happen to be strong main DPS carries. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about Domain Investigation, Formidable Foe, and Illusory Tower, which are these three that you see over here. Domain Investigation is very boring content after you get to a certain point. You just leave it on auto and then go about your day. You get these tokens from it that you can exchange for items in the shop, and also you get skill crystals. So in the later levels, you'll get higher skill crystals and stuff like that. There are multiple difficulties. I'm already in this one, so I can't really show you guys the other two. But just do the highest one you can, and eventually you'll get to a point where you're on this final one, which is called Domain of Chaos. How it works is you just select your team, and they retain their ult gauge and their HP across the different stages. And of course, you can't use more than one character of the same type, right? I can't use 2 Gojos or anything, just like normal teams. So you set up your recollections here. Each recollection can only be used once, and once you lock it in the first stage, it'll be stuck to that character. So make sure you're aware of that. So even if you switch out your character during the next stage, you won't be able to put that same recollection on that character. I'm just going to show you guys real quick what it looks like here. It's a very easy fight, so I'm just going to clear it out. Once you get to even just like 1 month of playing, all this content will be too easy for you to even have to worry about, so you can just auto this, like no problem. So once you clear one of the floors here, you'll move on to the next area. It's basically like, it's kind of like a roguelike, but a very, very, very simple version of one. So you get rewards, you pick a buff, HP recovery if you're low, damage taken decrease, or damage dealt increase. And then you go on to the next section, the next floor. As you can see, they have different rewards. We get some phantom metals here. We can also get some skill crystals, or even maybe some SSR skill crystal fragments, right? And then, as you can see, I keep my ult gauge. I can switch out this Gojo for this one, but if I do, I have to change his recollection. Yeah, so that's basically how this mode works. The reason I'm not clearing it is because of what I'm about to talk about next. So on weekends, you get 2 times bonus drop for these domain investigations. What that means is, whatever rewards you're going to get after you clear a stage, you get double the amount. So what people do, so for me, my weekend starts on Friday, right? So what I do is because you get to store 3 of these entrances to this domain investigation total. So what I do is on Tuesday, I enter. I'm at 1 out of 3, right? Because I've been using it the previous days. So I use my 1 out of 3 left, and I enter on Tuesday. And then I don't do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Because on Friday, when I wake up, I'll have 3 out of 3. Because that's 3 days I haven't cleared it in, right? And I'll still have this run that I entered on Tuesday active, but I haven't done it yet. But when I come in on Friday, I will have that 2 times drop available, even though I entered this on Tuesday. I hope that makes sense. If that was a bit convoluted, I'm sorry. Basically, the point is, if I enter 3 days before the 2 times weekend, then I can get 4 runs of 2 times drops when the 2x weekend starts. This is a pretty global exclusive thing because JP version doesn't get these 2x's, and they definitely don't get it every weekend. They get it very, very infrequently. But yeah, since you guys are playing on global, definitely take this into account. So figure out when your weekend is, 3 days before, enter it, don't do it, and then yeah, get double the rewards. Of course, if you're starting out and you're in the lower difficulty stages, definitely just do it. Do it until you can get to the higher ones. You should only really be doing this when you're at the highest level of domain investigation. Which again, shouldn't take you that long. It should take you maybe 2 weeks or so, 1 to 2 weeks, and you can start implementing this. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is Formidable Foe. So these are one-time battles that you can do, and they give recollections. You can see here, different difficulties. There are missions you need to do, and each mission gives specific things. If you clear it with no more than 2 characters dying, you get phantom metals. Clear it with nobody dying, you get these cubes. And if you do clear it within 8 turns, you get this recollection. This is very important because this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, okay? When you first are starting out. These recollections are free to play. They give them to you for free if you just clear this content. These three on the right here are very good. These two especially are two of the best recollections in the entire game. So do not sell any of your copies. I'll talk about selling later, which you can do. This recollection is also pretty solid and is useful in a lot of niche situations. This one is useless. You can sell copies of this one and that's completely fine because it sucks. But do not sell copies of these three recollections. So many people come to the Discord asking, oh no, I sold copies of this, what do I do? You don't have any choice but to use your universal recollection bits on it then, right? Because these are very, very good. They're very useful. Oh, also, if you don't know what universal recollection bits are, from events and stuff, we do get these universal ones, just like character dupes, but these are way more common because you get one every event. And you can artificially raise the limit break of your recollection if there's one that you want to raise specifically, right? Well, that's all that is. And then last thing I want to talk about is, oh, tower. So this is essentially the end game mode, right? So this is what you're going to be trying to clear as you progress your account. Right now there's up to 60 floors. The beginning 10 are very easy, but yeah, you'll see that you get gated pretty quickly based on how strong your characters are in the beginning. But as you progress as you play, this is basically the goal. You're going to be building your account in order to clear these hard stages and get to the next step, get these good rewards, right? Very simple. There are also secret stages, so certain floors have certain trigger conditions where you can put certain units in your team or do certain things and you get the secret stage unlocked, which gives you a bunch of extra rewards like this. And yeah, that's all I want to talk about in terms of the new game modes, or the 3 game modes that I haven't talked about yet. Okay, so now let's go over some of the more miscellaneous things. First of all, Global has a wishlist feature where you can pick out of 3 characters and 3 recollections, one that you're going to get on day 25 of the month. So for me, I picked Adult Time, but for all of you guys who are new, you should pick Mutual Trust. And that one is this one right here. You'll see it available. This recollection is extremely broken. It's used in a lot of core setups, so definitely pick this one up. Even if you got a copy of it in your beginning pools, I would still recommend grabbing this one because the other options for recollections are Adult Time, and I believe it was, let me find it. It was this one. Adult Time and Magnificent Stride Forward. These aren't bad by any means, but this one is so much better, so make sure you pick it up. The characters in this current May wishlist are not that great, so I wouldn't really worry about grabbing one of them. Okay, next. There is a rank system in this game, and it's not what you think it is. It's character rank. So certain characters have certain missions, by raising different versions of that character, raising their skill levels, their grades, and it gives you a lot of cubes, right? So as you can see, there's a bunch of missions that I've cleared and I haven't cleared that give me cubes. This is a good way to slowly raise your cube income, increasing the grades of your characters. So yeah, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just slowly raise their entire box. I don't really do that because I don't like putting resources into characters I'm not using, but that is a good way to farm up, admittedly a pretty small number of cubes, but it is still cubes nonetheless, right? So it's passive income just by playing the game and raising your box strength. Now I'm going to talk about all of the exchange options. So earlier we spoke about the domain investigation tokens. So you'll have a bunch of really nice options here. You'll have 2 SSR universal dupe shards you can buy with these tokens, and then also monthly resetting are the SSR skill crystals and the standard banner tickets. So you can buy all of those. After you buy all of those, you can still buy these things. I wouldn't really recommend buying these crystals here because you get plenty just from playing the game. But if you're in a pinch and you need, a few, you can definitely just spend it how you want to. Also, if you're missing a few cursed objects, all of them are available here, so you can definitely grab some. Although again, I wouldn't say that these are a good use of your domain investigation tokens, but you can do it if you're in a pinch or if you're in a rush to raise somebody. Cursed objects, just like other games, you can exchange lower rarity ones for higher rarity ones of the same type. You can definitely do this later on. I've done this quite a few times. because you'll end up having way too many golds, way too many silvers, so you can change them into a good amount of greens instead. Here, so these recollection dupes and the character dupes and these SSR crystals, they all have like smaller versions of themselves. These fragments over here, these fragments here, and then these fragments here. You can exchange them for the full versions once you collect 10 of each of these things. Friendship points, this is from people just using your account. You know, you can buy recollections. I've full maxed all of these, so I bought these out, but you can also buy these. I'd recommend buying all of these when you're starting out, at least these two. These you don't really need to worry about too much. You know, you can buy them if you want, but they're not really that important. And although I haven't used many of my points, you can also exchange for EXP if you're in a pinch and you just need to get a bit more from somewhere. This is a paid option. You can spend real money to buy one of these tickets and you can exchange it for one of these characters. If you are okay to spend, I would definitely recommend buying one and just grabbing either Domain Megumi, or you should definitely grab him. But if you already have him, then I would recommend grabbing HP Gojo here. You know, they're both very good to have. And if you're willing to spend, then you can guarantee having a very OP unit to start the game. I would not recommend buying the one for recollections because none of these are like, I mean, you can buy them, but it's not worth it. You could just save your money. And then again, gacha points. I've spoke about this briefly before, but yeah, you can spend them to guarantee the character if you have 250. You can also exchange the points for petty transfer points here. Our collections are 120. Also for the standard banner, once you have 200 pity, you can actually exchange it for a guaranteed gacha ticket. This is both characters and recollections, but you get guaranteed one of the standard banner characters or recollections here. This does update as the standard pool updates, so yeah, if you're a long-term player, you can just hold on to it if you already have most of the characters that you want. But if you're a new player, you should just use it. Test your luck, you might get something that's really broken from the standard banner. Soul Shards. So here is where you can sell your dupes. So let's say, so here I have all these guys maxed out, so I can select them all and just exchange them. But even for the ones I don't have maxed out, you know, let's say, you know, I'm not going to raise my Miwa, my SR Miwa ever. You know, I'm never going to raise these characters. Well, then I'm just going to sell them. You know, I'm just going to convert them. A lot of people say not to sell SSR shards, and that's because this game does have a track record of buffing a lot of old, outdated SSRs. But yeah, but if you know you just are never going to use a unit. For example, I'm never going to use this panda. I'm not going to use him, so I could just sell him. I'm not really in need of this currency right now, because I know I'm not going to use him because I don't like his kit or how his character functions. Even if he's good, I still won't use him. You know, so I could just convert it if I want to. And then with that currency, I can buy dupes of other SSR characters. These are the ones that are in the standard banner. And with the recent standard update, we also got all of these added in as well, you know? And that's really nice because these characters, some of these are very broken. For example, HP Gojo, he's grayed out because I already maxed him out, but I bought him 3 of the shards from the shop because I wanted him to be maxed out, right? Same thing for recollections. You can also sell dupes of those. Same thing here. These are all the ones that I already have max dupes of, so I can just convert them. But even if I, don't have it maxed out, for example, these SR recollections, I'm never going to use because I have SSR versions that are much better. There's nothing here that I, need to keep. But again, I would not just willy-nilly sell everything though. There are some R recollections that are very good. 2 of them specifically. They're called Dumbfounded and Preparation Activities, so you don't want to sell dupes of those. Even some SR recs might be really good for you to use as you're progressing your account and slowly working towards getting better recollections in the future, right? But for me, I can convert these because I'm not going to use them. And then with this currency, I can buy this monthly if I want to, although I don't recommend it. Most people, they'll hold on to these and then they'll use it to convert them into standard tickets, right? if you think about it, 700 is 35 of these tickets. So for some people, for most people, that 35 of these is more valuable than one extra recollection dupe. And this is the only thing that enters this shop. There is no character dupe or skill crystal that comes in here. So yeah, what else do we have? Oh man. I think there's one more thing. Yeah, Phantom Medals. So these are the free characters, quote unquote, in this game, where you slowly build up Phantom Medals just by playing the game, playing Tower, doing domain investigation, doing all your events, and then you can buy these characters. The order of priority is Mahito, Hanami, and then Jogo. You don't even need Jogo ever, but he does get very, very good after his recent buffs in JP. So if you want to prepare for that, you can definitely pick him up. But I would highly recommend grabbing Mahito and Hanami first. These two are core in a lot of very free-to-play friendly strats. A lot of times when you're missing an important character for a stage, you might have to just clear it by stalling or doing some kind of alternative free-to-play strategy. And for those, these two are used very, very often. So definitely pick up Mahito first because he's used the most by far, and he's very, very good for a lot of different situations. And then pick her up. And you can also, after that, after 3000, which will take you, quite a long time anyways, you can save for the future unit that's coming out, which is most likely going to be Yellow Dagon, or Dagon. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but we don't know for sure what it's going to be, but it's very likely that it's going to be him. Or if you want a very strong blue DPS and you're skipping Sukuna, you can pick up Jogo as well, because he will be the second best thing after Sukuna when it comes to blue base damage. After his JP buffs, of course. So once that buff hits global, we'll see him be very strong. Right now in global, he's pretty whatever. He's pretty mid. So yeah, definitely focus on getting a copy of these two first. Mahito and then Hanami. Now let's talk about some of the paid options. If you're free to play and you're always going to be free to play, you can look away now and that's completely fine. But if you're a light spender like I am, or if you're a heavy spender, there are things you can buy, right? This is one of the most valuable packs. It gives you 5,000 paid cubes and then one Universal SSR dupe for $40. It doesn't sound like a good deal, but compared to everything else, this is a good deal. So yeah, I mean, obviously the prices aren't great. And after that, the only thing I could recommend is this one, which is the monthly pass. For $3, you get 430 paid cubes immediately, and then 3,000 cubes over the next month. So $3, 3,000 free cubes, one extra multi per month is what you get for $3 a month. If you're willing to spend, this is definitely one of the good options. And then there is also, oh, I think I have to go over here. The Phantom Parade Pass. So for $8, this gives you like 930 paid cubes and a bunch of mats, bunch of free cubes as well. I think 3,000 free cubes roughly. And the best part about it is that it also gives you 2 SSR fragment shards every month that you buy it consecutively. So what that means is, see over here how we have one of these. Every month that you buy it consecutively, so let's say you buy it this month. So you won't get any shards this month, but the next month if you buy it again, you'll get 2 of these. So which means in the next 5 months you'll get another full shard. So it's not great, but again, it is $8 and it gives you 3k paid free cubes, a bunch of resources, 2 of these shards, and then of course around 900 paid cubes as well, which is nice. I mean, it's just out of all the options in the shop, the Phantom Parade Pass, and then this monthly pass, and then I guess this one maybe, are the only ones that are personally worth it in my opinion. I'm not going to buy this, but if I were to buy something, I would buy this one, most likely. And of course, there are some good deals out there that happen sometimes. For example, currently, there were ticket packets here that I bought for Zone Yuji, which are $3 and then $3 for 5 tickets and then $8 for 10 tickets, I believe. Those are very valuable. So if you're okay with spending a little bit and you really want a specific character, then buying those tickets is very worth, right? Because again, $3 for 5 tickets, that's basically $3 for 1,500 cubes. It's pretty hard to find any other deal that matches that value. And also 10 tickets for $8, that's $8 for 3,000 cubes, which is again hard to find with the rest of these deals. There are one-time deals that I'm sure are great. Like for example, this one looks okay. I don't know what it's about. This one is great if you want 3000 paid cubes and you want to select one of the really broken standard banner characters like Domain Megumi or HP Gojo. Yeah, there are some good ones out there, especially when it comes to these celebrations, but I personally I don't look at any of them. The only ones I buy are sometimes this one and then sometimes the Phantom, or I always buy the Phantom Parade Pass, but I sometimes buy this one. Yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the paid options that I would recommend personally. Okay, so a bit of an outro here. My content is catered towards free-to-play or light spenders who've been playing actively and efficiently since day one. So a lot of them will require high investment, very specific units sometimes. Although I try to make them as accessible and free-to-play friendly as possible, sometimes people are just missing the units. So for those scenarios, and for you guys who are new, I want to recommend a creator called Red Panda Gaming. Although Red Panda is one word and then space gaming on YouTube. He makes really good free-to-play content that's very accessible. Of course, that does mean a lot of the strategies are very boring stall teams, and I have made those too before in the past, and I lose my mind making them. So I really don't want to make them moving forward, especially because I work full-time, and this is not my job, this is just a hobby of mine, and I don't really have time to do those kinds of things anymore. But he definitely does, and he's very, very good at it. He creates the 40 turn, 50 turn stall teams that sometimes is what's required to clear certain things if you don't have the right units for it. So check him out for sure, especially if you're stuck or if my strategies don't work for you. I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. And yeah, overall I hope this guide was helpful. I hope there were some useful things that you can take from this. And if you have any other questions, you can definitely join my Discord. The link is in the description. You can @ me, you can ping me, message me, ask me certain things. I won't always respond because I just get too many DMs. I get a lot of pings, a lot of DMs. I definitely will if I can, and even if I don't, there are plenty of other people there who are very knowledgeable in both my Discord and in the official Discord. So yeah, definitely check all those things out. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If people are mean, just block them and ask other people questions. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So I really hope you guys enjoy this game. I hope you guys stick around because I personally find this game a lot of fun and I see a lot of potential as long as they add more things to do, especially with other people. So enjoy and try to have fun.